A brand new Ram 1500 will run you around $58,000 out the door, and it will shed $24,000 of that in the first 5 years while you are still making payments on it. Sitting in my shop this morning is a pickup built in 1996 with 311,000 miles on the odometer that has never once come in here on a hook. So why is the cheap old truck out in my lot running errands while the expensive new one is up on my lift with a $9,000 estimate taped to the windshield? Tuesday morning, 7:15. A fellow named Curtis backs a 2021 Ram 1500 up to my bay door. Silver, big horn package, 61,000 miles on it. Still has the dealer plate frame on the back. He rolls the window down and says, "Do you hear that?" And I do. Anybody would. It is a tapping sound at idle, right side of the engine, steady as a clock. Tick, tick, tick. He tells me he first heard it 3 weeks ago in his own driveway at 6 in the morning while the coffee was brewing, and he has not slept right since. I already know what it is before I pop the hood. That is a collapsed lifter. On that engine, when a lifter goes, it usually takes the camshaft lobe with it, which means the engine has to come apart. Cam, lifters, timing set, gaskets, oil pump if the metal got that far. My estimate came to $9,400. Curtis stood there in my parking lot and did the math out loud. He still owed $31,000 on the truck. His payment was $812 a month on an 84-month note. And the thing is 5 years old. I have been turning wrenches for 41 years. My father had the shop before me. Same 3 bays, same concrete floor since 1968. In that time, I have watched what actually happens to trucks. Not what the commercial says. Not what the salesman on the lot says. What happens? And I will tell you plain, I got taken myself. In 2019, I walked onto a lot and bought a brand new truck, cash, because I told myself I had earned it after all those years. 3 years later, I sold it for $19,000 less than I paid for it. $19,000. For the privilege of a nice radio and a backup camera I never used, because I know how to back up a truck. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. So I went back to what I know. I bought a 1997 truck with 240,000 miles on it for $11,000, and I have driven it every day since. It has needed a water pump, a set of ball joints, and an alternator. Total in parts over 4 years, about $1,400. I do my own labor, but even if you pay a shop, you are looking at maybe $3,000 all in. Set that next to Curtis standing in my lot with a $9,400 bill and $31,000 still owed on a truck that is not worth $25,000. Now most folks hear a story like that and they think, well, that man got unlucky. That is a bad break. It is not a bad break. I see it every week. I have 4 vehicles in my shop right now that are under 10 years old with estimates over $6,000, and every single owner is still making payments on them. That is not luck. That is a pattern. And once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. So here is the question I want you to sit with, because the answer is not the one you expect. If the new trucks are better built, and they are, the machining on a modern engine is genuinely better than anything my father ever had come through this shop, then why do the old ones outlive them by 100,000 miles or more? What is actually killing these trucks? Because I promise you, it is not the engine wearing out. Here is the thing nobody tells you. A truck does not die when it stops running. A truck dies the day one single repair costs more than the truck is worth. That is it. That is the whole story. We have a word for it in the trade. We say it is totaled, but no insurance company is involved. It is just a man standing in a parking lot doing arithmetic and deciding to walk away from something that still has a good engine in it. So the real question when you go to buy a truck is not how many miles will it go. The real question is, what is the worst thing that can break on this truck? And what does that cost to fix? That number decides how long you keep it. Nobody asks it. Everybody asks about miles instead. Let me tell you why the new ones fail that test. It is not the metal. The problem is everything bolted around the engine. A truck built in 1995 had one computer, and on some of them, the engine did not need the computer at all to run. A truck built last year has dozens of control modules. One for the transmission, one for the body, one for the doors, one for the exhaust, one for the parking sensors, one for the camera that watches the lane line. Every one of those has wiring, connectors, and a part number that goes out of production. When a module fails at year 12, and it will, it may not be available at any price. I have had trucks sit in my back lot 6 weeks waiting on a part that nobody in the country had on a shelf. Then there is the emissions equipment. And this is the big one on the diesels. You have a particulate filter, an exhaust gas recirculation cooler, a turbo with moving vanes inside it, and on the newer ones, a whole urea injection system with its own heater and pump and sensors. When that system goes bad on a modern heavy-duty truck, you are looking at $4,000 to $7,000, and it can go bad at 90,000 miles. That is not a worn-out truck. That is a nearly new truck with a repair bill big enough to scare its owner straight into another loan, which, if you think about it for a second, is exactly what it is designed to do. Now here is the contrast I want you to see. And I will use round numbers because round numbers are easier to argue with. New truck, $58,000 to buy. $24,000 gone in 5 years before you have done anything wrong. Then, a $9,000 engine job at 61,000 miles that you cannot do yourself, cannot get parts for outside the dealer network, and cannot even diagnose without a scan tool that costs more than my first car. Old truck. $9,000 to buy. It has already done its depreciating. It lost its value 20 years ago to somebody else. Worst repair on the whole vehicle is an engine. And a good used engine, for most of what I am about to name you, runs $1,200 to $2,500 sitting on a shelf today, in a yard about 40 minutes from wherever you are watching this. One of those trucks can be killed by a single phone call. The other one cannot be killed at all. Here is the sharp part. The old truck does not have any of that. Not because the old truck is cleverer, because it is not there. You cannot break a part that was never installed. A 1996 truck with mechanical injection has no computer deciding when to squirt the fuel. It has a pump and a linkage and a spring. When something goes wrong, you can see it with your eyes and fix it with a wrench in your own driveway. So, the counterintuitive truth is this, and I want you to hold on to it. You are not shopping for the newest truck you can afford. You are shopping for the truck with the cheapest, worst case. The truck where the most expensive thing that can possibly happen to it still comes in under $2,000. That is the truck still sitting in your driveway in 15 years. Simple is not a compromise. Simple is the entire point. So here are the 7 I would actually buy, in the order I would buy them, and what to look at on each one. First one, the 1994 to 1998 Dodge Ram 2500 with the 5.9-liter 12-valve Cummins. $8,000 to $15,000 depending on rust and miles almost do not count on this engine. $300,000 is middle-aged. The injection pump is mechanical, which means the engine will run with the battery cable off. Here is the trick, and this one saves engines. There is a dowel pin behind the front timing cover that walks itself loose over the years and drops into the gear train. Fellows call it the killer dowel pin. There is a $30 tab kit that pins it in place forever. If the seller cannot tell you whether that has been done, plan on an afternoon and do it before you drive that truck anywhere. Second, the 1988 to 1998 Chevy and GMC K1500 with a 5.7. The 350, $5,000 to $9,000. Throttle body injection, a distributor you can set with a timing light, and parts on the shelf at every store in America. Here is what actually kills these, and it is not the engine. It is the rear cab corners and the brake lines that run over the axle. Take a small magnet, wrap it in a rag so you do not scratch anything, and run it along the rocker panels. If it will not stick, that is body filler over rust. Rust is the only thing that has ever put one of these in a scrapyard. Third, the 1999 to 2006 Chevy Silverado 1500 with the 5.36 to $11,000. This is the sweet spot, and here is why. These early ones do not have cylinder deactivation, that system that shuts off half the cylinders to save a little fuel. That system is what eats lifters on the later ones. Same failure Curtis had, different badge on the tailgate. Get the year right, and you skip the whole problem. Set aside $2,000 for the transmission. The 4-speed behind it is the weak link, and it generally lets go somewhere around $200,000. Fourth, the 2000 to 2006 Toyota Tundra with the 4.7 V8. $8,000 to $14,000. That engine will do 400,000 miles on oil changes and nothing else. 2 things you have to know. It has a timing belt and it comes out every 90,000 miles. $700 to $900 at a shop with the water pump done at the same time because the pump is right there and you are already paying for the labor. Skip it and the belt takes the engine with it. Second thing, check the frame. Toyota had a genuine rust problem on these. Get under the back of it with a flashlight and tap the frame rail behind the rear wheel with a hammer. If it dents or flakes, walk away and do not look back. Fifth, the 1994 to 1997 Ford F250 or F350 with the 7.3 Power Stroke. 10 to 18,000. This is the last simple diesel Ford ever built. Here is the pitfall that leaves people standing on the shoulder of a highway with no warning at all: the cam position sensor. When it fails, the engine shuts off and will not restart, and it gives you no symptom beforehand. None. It is a $60 part and about a 2-minute job. Buy a spare and put it in the glove box the day you buy the truck. I keep one in every diesel I own. And while I am on Fords, stay away from the 2003 to 2007 6.0. Good truck, bad head gaskets, and the fix means pulling the cab off the frame. Sixth, the 1997 to 2003 Ford F150 with the 4.6 V8, $4,000 to $8,000, and this is the cheapest honest truck on the list. The engine is good for $300,000. The known trouble is the spark plug threads in the aluminum heads. They can strip and blow a plug clean out of the hole. The fix is a thread insert, about $200 a hole. Here is the trick. Before you buy, stand over the engine and look at the plug wires. If one boot looks newer than the rest, that hole has already had trouble. Ask about it and watch his face. Seventh, the 1995 to 2004 Toyota Tacoma with the 2.74 cylinder. 7 to 13,000. It is a small truck. It will not pull your camper up a grade. It will start every single morning for 25 years. Same frame warning as the Tundra, and on these, it is worse. Toyota bought a lot of them back over it. Get underneath before you ever get behind the wheel. On all 7 of them, spend $35 on one of those little borescope cameras from the hardware store. It plugs into your phone. Pull one spark plug, drop the camera down the hole, and look at the top of the piston. 2 minutes. That thing has saved me from 4 bad trucks, and it fits in a shirt pocket. Now let me pull back, because this was never really about trucks. Curtis is going to make payments for another 3 years on a truck he is afraid to drive. $812 a month. That is $9,700 a year going out the door for a machine sitting in his driveway, ticking. Over the life of that note, he hands the bank $68,000. And at the end of it, he owns something worth maybe $18,000. My $11,000 truck cost me $11,000. There is no second number. Here's the part that took me 40 years to understand, and my father knew it the whole time, and I would not listen. A truck payment is not a bill. A truck payment is a decision you have to make again every single month, whether the work came in that month or not. When the job falls through in February, the bank does not care. That payment is the reason good men take work they should have turned down and put up with a customer they should have sent down the road. My father used to say, the man with no payment can say no, and being able to say no is worth more than heated seats. There is a second thing, and I do not think folks weigh it heavy enough. When you own a simple truck, you can fix it. Not in theory, actually. Alternator in the driveway on a Saturday, 2 hours, $90, and your neighbor can hold the light. Your kid can hand you the wrench and learn what a socket is and why it matters which way you turn it. That is a completely different relationship with a machine than sitting in a waiting room with bad coffee while a young man in a headset reads you what the computer said. We all used to have that. We traded it for a touchscreen. And the money is real money. $20,000 is a roof. It is a year of community college for your daughter. It is the difference between having something set aside when the furnace quits and not having it. Nobody at the dealership is going to bring that up, and I do not blame them for it. That is not their job. Their job is the payment. So here is what I want you to do tonight. Not this weekend. Tonight. Open up the local listings on your phone and set the price filter to $12,000 maximum. Search the 7 trucks I just named, one at a time, and set the distance out to 200 miles. Save every one you find with under 250,000 miles and pictures that actually show the frame. That is your list. Then walk out to your own driveway, look at what is sitting there, and work out what it truly costs you every month. Payment, insurance, repairs. Write the number on a piece of paper. Most people have never once written that number down. It is uncomfortable, and it is the most useful thing you will do this week. Then come back and tell me in the comments what you found and what part of the country you are in. Because rust changes everything. And a truck that is a bargain in Arizona is scrap metal in Ohio. I read all of them. Next time, I am going to walk you through the one-page checklist I use when a customer asks me to look at a used truck for him. 11 things, in order. The fourth one is a $2 test with a paper towel that tells you whether the head gasket is going before you ever start the engine. Sellers hate it. It takes about 9 seconds. I will see you then.